Welcome to ComfortTV.channel news, bringing you verified and balanced news from Nigeria and around the world. My name is Faith Kevin. Thank you for joining us this evening. In the headlines, police arrest Sowore after court appearance for Nnamdi Kanu. Minister Suleiman Ibrahim hails first African free trade agreement exporter. Northern PDP stakeholders endorse former Minister Turaki as consensus candidate for national chairman. UNICEF appoints Zephyr Ovia Ikem as next-gen champion. IGP appeals acquittal of Bolanle Aseyan in cybercrime case. Governor Bago urges Nigeria's residents to protect their communities. On the business news, ICPC records 1.86 billion naira from sale of forfeited assets in 2024. Finance leaders push for stronger collaboration to unlock sustainable financing. On foreign, EU leaders seek role in Gaza at summits focused on Ukraine and Russia. Spain condemns Israeli bill to annex West Bank. And on sports, Bayern's Mike becomes third youngest Nigerian to feature in the UCL behind Babayaro. Lawrence Okoli to headline heavyweight triple header in Lagos. Now the news. Former presidential candidate and activist Mr. Omoyele Sowore was on Thursday taken away by armed policemen from the premises of the Federal High Court in Abuja shortly after attending proceedings for detained IPOB leader Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. Mr. Sowore, a prominent campaigner for Mazi Kanu's release, was intercepted by security operatives who insisted he accompany them to the Federal Capital Territory Police Command. Despite questioning the lack of formal invitation and insisting that his lawyer be present, he was eventually driven away in a police van. Mr. Sowore's arrest comes days after the hashtag Free Nnamdi Kanu protest, which took place in Abuja and other parts of the country on Monday. During the demonstration, 12 individuals, including Mazi Kanu's younger brother, Emmanuel, and his lawyer, Aloy Ejimako, were arrested and later remanded at the Kuje prison. Police authorities accused the protesters of defying a court order by holding the rally, alleging that they chanted war songs and obstructed traffic. The defendants were charged with criminal conspiracy, incitement, and disturbance of public peace. Offenses said to contravene sections 152, 114, and 113 of the Penal Code law. Right groups have expressed concern that the recurring arrests of activists and protesters could signal a shrinking civic space and rising intolerance for peaceful dissent. The Minister of Women Affairs, Iman Suleiman Ibrahim, has commended the former Managing Director of the National Inland Waterways Authority, NIWA, Mrs. Chinwe Ezenwa, describing her as Nigeria's first entrepreneur to export under the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, AFCFTA. Speaking at the 40th anniversary of Leluk Bags and the unveiling of Just Bags, a new digital marketplace dubbed the Amazon of African Bags, the minister said Mrs. Ezenwa's achievement had placed Nigerian women on the continental trade map. According to Minister Suleiman Ibrahim, Mrs. Ezenwa's success showcases African prints as a global fashion statement and demonstrates that Nigerian women can compete and excel on the world stage. Mrs. Chinwe Ezenwa stated that Leluk Bags has exported more than 1 million bags worldwide in her 4 decades of operations. According to her, Just Bags initiative will allow for mentorship and also allow African manufacturers to collectively take on bulk orders that individual producers cannot handle alone. She highlighted the strong international appeal of African prints, especially Adire fabrics, which she says German buyers particularly love. As part of the anniversary, Mrs. Ezenwa also inaugurated the Leluk Fellows Mentorship Initiative, through which she plans to introduce young entrepreneurs to continental trade opportunities. Linking her vision to the African Continental Free Trade Area, AFCFTA, she described the agreement as a prosperity highway and a game changer for African businesses. The People's Democratic Party Northern stakeholders have endorsed a former minister, Tanimu Taraki, as their consensus candidate for the November 15 National Convention in Abuja. The PDP Northern stakeholders, comprising PDP governors, members of the National Working Committee and other party leaders from the Northern region, disclosed this after a closed-door meeting held in Abuja. Mr. Turaki served as the Minister of Special Duties and Intergovernmental Affairs under President Goodluck Jonathan's administration. Briefing journalists after the meeting, Governor Ahmadu Fintiri said the decision followed extensive consultations and deliberations among the party's northern leaders. Governor Fintiri said the stakeholders represented all northern states, including Abuja. However, he noted that anyone still interested in contesting the position was free to do so. He added that all other positions zoned to the northern states would be decided at the regional level, and the region would present its candidates alongside others at the convention. Also speaking on the gale of defections from the party to the All Progressive Congress, Governor Fintiri said that the PDP remained united. At the meetings were Governors Bala Mohammed, Caleb Muftwang and Dauda Lawal. Others included former Senate President Bukola Saraki, former Governor Ahmed Makarfi, and members of the PDP NWC from the north under the leadership of Umar Damagun. The United Nations Children's Fund UNICEF has appointed Zefea Ovia Ikim, a renowned tech and social entrepreneur, as a UNICEF Next Gen champion, marking a significant step in advancing children's rights and youth empowerment efforts in Nigeria. The announcement was made in a statement by UNICEF representative of Nigeria, Mrs. Wafa Said, who described Ovia Ikem's appointment as a boost to the organization's mission of mobilizing private sector partnerships and innovation in support of children and young people. The UNICEF Next Gen initiative brings together emerging global leaders who use their expertise and influence to accelerate solutions for children. Members have supported emergency responses, championed digital inclusion, and amplified the voices of children on international platforms. Ms. Ovia Ikem joins a global network of UNICEF Next Gen Champions, a community of investors, philanthropists, and business leaders committed to driving progress for children through strategic investments, advocacy, and social impact initiatives. According to Mrs. Said, the new appointee has been an active supporter of UNICEF's Generation Unlimited Nigeria, GenU Niger, initiative since its inception, contributing to programs that connect young Nigerians to education, skills, and employment opportunities. As Next Gen champion, Ovia Ikem is expected to rally business leaders around children's rights, mobilize resources, and leverage her platforms to amplify UNICEF's work in health, education, climate resilience, and digital innovation across the country. The Nigerian Police Force has filed a notice of appeal challenging the judgment of Honorable Justice Lifu of the Federal High Court Lagos Division, which discharged and acquitted Bolanle Aseyan on a 4-count charge bordering on alleged offensive publication, criminal intimidation, and cyber stalking against Dr. Olufumilayo Ogunsanya. The appeal, dated October 2025, was filed by the Office of the Inspector General of Police through its legal officer, Emmanuel Eze Esquire, seeking to set aside the August 8, 2025 judgment and order a retrial. Ms. Aseyan was accused of making defamatory publications between June 29 and August 14, 2020 via Twitter, now X, with the alleged intent to harm the reputation of Dr. Ogunsanya. She was arraigned on 4 counts under sections 24, 1A, 1B, 1C, and 2C2 of the National Assembly of Nigeria's Cybercrime Prohibition Prevention Act 2015. However, Justice Lifu, in his ruling, held that while the prosecution proved the actus reus criminal act of the alleged offense, it failed to establish the man's criminal intent, leading to Ms. Asenya's discharge and acquittal. In the notice of appeal, the prosecution contended that the trial court erred in law by discharging the respondents, despite acknowledging that the alleged publications were made and were offensive in nature. Among the grounds listed, the prosecution argued that the trial judge contradicted himself by admitting that actus reus was established but later acquitted the defendant on the basis of lack of mens rea. The trial court failed to properly evaluate the exhibits tendered by the prosecution, including the offensive post allegedly made from the respondent's verified Twitter account. The judge wrongly discounted the June 29, 2020 post made in the UK and other publications in August 2020 made in Nigeria. The decision was based on sentiment, particularly by describing the incident as an altercation between estranged lovers instead of a criminal matter. The judgment was against the weight of evidence presented. The Inspector General of Police is asking the Court of Appeal to set aside the ruling of the Federal High Court and order a retrial of the case. The case, which attracted public attention in 2020, stemmed from a series of rape allegations posted on social media allegedly aimed at damaging Dr. Ogunsonya's reputation. The prosecution maintained that the offensive publication caused annoyance, inconvenience, intimidation, and reputational harm in violation of the Cybercrime Act. The matter will be heard at the Court of Appeal, Lagos, Judicial Division, Nigeria. Governor Mohammed Bago of Niger State has vowed never to negotiate with bandits or pay ransom for kidnapped victims, saying instead residents must be prepared to defend themselves against attacks. The governor made the disclosure when he visited the people of Rijau and Magama local government areas of the state, whose communities were recently attacked by bandits in Kotangora, describing as embarrassing and unacceptable the frequent invasions of communities and the displacement of residents. Governor Bago announced plans by his administration to recruit and train 10,000 members in the Joint Task Force JTF to help restore security across the state. A statement by his special advisor and print media, Aisha Wakaso, said the governor has also declared a total ban on all mining activities across Zone C of the state, covering 8 local government areas of Magama, Kotangora, Rijau, Wishishi, Mariga, Bogo, Mashegu, and Agwara. The governor assured victims of recent attacks that his administration would provide support, including compensation for families of those killed, medical treatment for the injured, and assistance for those who lost their sources of livelihood. This is ComfortTV.channel's news. Will return shortly with business, foreign, and sports news. Stay tuned. Many thanks for staying with us. This is Comfort TV, the channel news. On to business. The Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC, says it made about 1.86 billion naira from the sale of confiscated properties in 2024 as part of its ongoing efforts to recover and manage assets linked to corruption cases. In a statement, ICPC spokesperson Demola Bakare said the figure was revealed during the 2025 meeting of the Asset Disposal Committee. The session, chaired by ICPC Chairman Musa Aliyu, reviewed the Commission's progress in asset recovery and emphasized the need for transparency in future exercises. The Commission's report showed that 10 out of 23 forfeited assets were successfully auctioned in December 2024. However, 7 could not be sold due to bids below the approved value, while 6 others were stalled by ongoing court cases, security concerns, or encroachment issues. 4 of those unsold properties have been moved into the 2025 disposal list. For the new year, the ICPC disclosed plans to auction 30 items, including both movable and immovable properties, as well as batches of perishable goods. According to the breakdown, 3.97 million naira came from the sale of perishable and scrapped items, while off-cycle disposals generated 975 million naira from 3 assets. The remaining 890 million naira came from on-cycle disposals involving 20 properties. The chairman, while addressing the committee, noted that recovering stolen wealth remains one of the most effective tools in the anti-corruption fight. He said the goal is not just to punish offenders, but also to ensure public funds are returned to serve citizens. He assured that all sales are being conducted under strict legal and procedural guidelines to prevent manipulation, undervaluation, or relooting. The meeting was attended by representatives of the Bureau of Public Procurement, BPP, Nigerian Labour Congress, NLC, Nigerian Union of Journalists, NUJ, Accountability Lab, and the Center for Fiscal Transparency and Public Integrity. ICPC's efforts to maintain open oversight in the disposal process. The Commission added that it will continue to strengthen its anti-corruption strategy through asset recovery and transparent management of proceeds. Finance and sustainability executives are calling for deeper collaboration among regulators, investors, and private sector players to accelerate the growth of sustainable financing and drive Nigeria's long-term economic expansion. The call came during a session hosted by RMB Nigeria at the 31st Nigeria Economic Summit, themed Funding the Future, Sustainable Financing as a Growth Engine. The discussion focused on how innovative financing tools and long-term partnership can help bridge Nigeria's infrastructure and climate funding gaps. Chief Executive Officer of RMB Nigeria, Mr. Bayo Ajayi, said finance must evolve from merely supplying liquidity to catalyzing transformation. Director General of the Debt Management Office, DMO, Mrs. Patience Oniha, in her keynote address, highlighted Nigeria's pioneering role in Africa's green finance market. The country became the first on the continent to issue a sovereign green bond in 2017 and has since raised 75.69 billion naira in 3 tranches to support renewable energy, clean transport, and afforestation projects. On the foreign scene, European Union leaders are pushing for a more prominent role in Gaza and the occupied West Bank after being sidelined from the recent ceasefire between Israel and Hamas brokered by the United States. Meeting in Brussels, EU heads of state devoted part of the summit primarily focused on Ukraine and Russia, to discussions on the fragile ceasefire in Gaza and ways the bloc can support post-war stability. The European Union remains the largest donor of aid to the Palestinians and Israel's leading trading partners. Tensions over the conflict have divided the 27-nation bloc and strained relations with Israel to unprecedented levels. Earlier this year, the European Commission outlined plans for sanctions and trade restrictions aimed at pressuring Israel towards a peace agreement, but those measures stalled following the US-led ceasefire. Despite the pause, some EU officials maintain that economic and diplomatic tools should remain available as fighting intermittently flares in Gaza and the West Bank. The ceasefire was reached without significant European input, prompting frustration within EU institutions and renewal calls for a stronger regional role. The bloc's top foreign policy officials have stressed the need for the EU to go beyond humanitarian funding and take part in reconstruction and governance efforts in Gaza once conditions permit. The EU has pledged continued financial and institutional support for the Palestinian Authority, which governs parts of the occupied West Bank, and has signaled readiness to expand its police training and border management programs to Gaza under the current ceasefire framework. As part of its re-engagement strategy, the EU is seeking representation in the proposed Board of Peace, a transitional oversight body intended to guide Gaza's stabilization and reconstruction. Still on the foreign scene, Spain on Thursday condemned the preliminary approval by Israel's parliament of a bill to annex and impose full sovereignty over parts of the occupied West Bank. Although the bill currently lacks legal validity, Madrid said it goes against international law, including a July 19, 2024 advisory opinion by the International Court of Justice, which found Israel's occupation of Palestinian territory to be illegal. The bill, backed by ultra-nationalists and the Israeli government, passed in a 25-24 vote. However, it remains unclear whether it will pass in the full 120-seat Knesset. Spain also reiterated its opposition to Israeli settlement expansion, saying such moves are illegal under international law, and condemned any initiative that prevents the implementation of the two-state solution, the only path to lasting peace in the region. Madrid expressed deep concern over the situation in the West Bank, citing settler violence carried out with impunity, ongoing military operations, and what it called a public strategy to expand Israeli settlements, all of which it said pose obstacles to achieving peace and security. The bill has drawn widespread condemnation, including from U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who called the annexation counterproductive and threatening to the peace deal as he boarded a plane to Israel. On sports, Munich-born Nigerian forward Mr. Mike made his UEFA Champions League debut as German champions Bayern Munich cruised to a 4-0 victory over Club Brugge at the Allianz Arena. Bayern were in complete control by halftime, racing to a 3-goal lead courtesy of Leonard Karl, Harry Kane and Luis Diaz, who all found the net within the opening 35 minutes. With 11 minutes remaining, Chelsea loanee Nicholas Jackson completed the rout, firing home from close range after a deflection fell kindly in his path. With the result beyond doubt, Bayern manager Vincent Kompany introduced 2 late substitutions, one of which saw Mike replace Luis Diaz in the 81st minute. At 17 years and 28 days, Mike became the 3rd youngest player of Nigerian descent to feature in the UEFA Champions League, behind Celestin Babayaro, 16 years and 86 days, and Rio Ngumoha, 17 years and 19 days. Although Babayaro's record as the youngest ever Champions League debutant has since been surpassed by Yusufa Mukoko, The retired Nigerian international still holds the distinction of being the youngest player to start a Champions League match. Still on sports, former world champion Lawrence Okolie will headline a major boxing event in Lagos, Nigeria on December 19 as part of the heavyweight triple-header titled Chaos in the Ring 2. The show, promoted by Balmoral Group Promotions, AK Promotions, and Frank Warren's Queensberry Promotions, will take place at the Mobolaji Johnson Arena and be broadcast live worldwide on DAZN. It marks one of the biggest boxing nights ever staged in West Africa, with organizers describing it as a milestone moment for African boxing, following on from their previous show on October 1. Okolie, 22, who was born in London to Nigerian parents, will fight professionally on African soil for the first time. The 33-year-old won the WBO cruiserweight title in 2021 with a 6th-round knockout of Krzysztof Głowacki and went on to defend it successfully before claiming the WC Bridgerweight title. And that's our news bulletin for you this evening. But before we go, here is a recap of our top stories. Police arrest Sowore after court appearance for Nnamdi Kanu. Minister Suleiman Ibrahim hails first African Free Trade Agreement exporter. Northern PDP stakeholders endorse former Minister Turaki as consensus candidate for national chairman. UNICEF appoints Zefaya Ovia Ikim as next-gen champion. IGP appeals acquittal of Bolanle Asayan in cybercrime case. On business, ICPC records 1.86 billion naira from sale of forfeited assets in 2024. Foreign now, EU leaders seek role in Gaza at summit focused on Ukraine and Russia. And on sports, Bayern Mike becomes third youngest Nigerian to feature in UCL behind Babayaro. Thank you for watching. For breaking news, exclusive interviews and more, follow us online at ComfortTV.channel on all platforms. Remember to like and share our videos, subscribe to our channel, click on the notification bell so you don't miss out on any updates. My name is Faith Kevin. Until next time, stay informed, stay connected.